everybody. This is Lynnette. Welcome to Cooking with Lynnette. I just wanted to stop in here, and today we're going to talk about cooking with herbs. And this is a special virtual party that I have going right now, and so I wanted to just go over a few different ideas and things for you for cooking with herbs. So the first thing that I'd like to kind of talk about is planting herbs. And of course, you know, there's so many different kinds and everybody has their favorite. And some of my favorites would be chives. I grow chives and have an abundance of those every year. And it is May right now, so they're really growing and beautiful right now. I always have basil. I love to use fresh basil in with chicken, with pasta, with anything tomato, anything cheesy. Basil works great with that. Another one that I like is rosemary. Of course, you always think of rosemary with stuffing and chicken and turkey, and it's just great for a lot of different things like that. I also enjoy lavender, and lavender is one that you might not think about cooking with, but it has a really light, yummy flavor. One of the recipes that I really like with lavender, well, two of them actually, sugar cookies. If you put lavender in sugar cookies, not only is it beautiful because it has the little purple, you know, the purple tint to it, but it has just a really light flavor to it that's really, really enticing. The other one with lavender is lavender lemonade. That is really thirst quenching and very good too. Sage. Sage is another one that I love to grow, and I use that obviously too with chicken stuffing, that kind of thing. The sage goes so well with that type of thing. Pork, it goes really well with pork as well. So those are the ones that I really enjoy. Oregano, of course. There's the oregano, and that goes in anything Italian, anything tomato based. Parsley. Parsley goes on everything. Some people love cilantro. Some people hate cilantro. So that's kind of one. I haven't grown that one myself because I'm not a huge fan of it. I don't mind it, but I'm not a huge fan of it. But that might be another one that you might want to try. So those are just some off the top of my head that I love. And I've been an herb gardener for over 20 years. So I love growing and using my herbs. So as you're thinking about planting, though, just a couple of hints for you just to kind of think about. If you are going to plant in the ground and actually do an herb garden, then you really need to research it a little bit before you do it and be careful of what you're doing, or you might regret it just with a couple of plants. We'll talk about that in a minute. So herbs love sun. Every kind of herb loves sun. If you think about it, most herbs are like Mediterranean, right? So they like to be in the sun. If you can plant them like up against a house, or up against, a concrete barrier or fence or something like that, the sun coming down on that concrete or on that house and reflecting back onto the herbs is wonderful. They love it. So hot and sunny is usually great for every kind of herb. The other thing to be careful of is just the watering. You don't want to overwater them. It needs to have good drainage in the soil. So if you need to amend your soil before you plant, please, go ahead and do that. Put peat into the soil, or, it depends on what kind of soil you're starting with, of what you would need to do to make it drain well. So those are a couple of little things. The other planting tip is that some herbs are invasive. And invasive means that they will spread and that they can take over the garden. So for instance, oregano. If you plant oregano, it kind of tunnels and goes under the ground and goes all over the place, and it's really hard to get rid of it then. and you have to constantly be chasing after it to keep it, where you want it. So if you're doing something like that, and if you want it so that it looks like it's in the ground, so that it's part of your herb garden, then dig a hole in the ground and plant it in a pot, and put the pot in the ground, and then put your mulch over, and nobody will know that it's in a pot, but that kind of contains it and keeps it where it's supposed to be. So that's also, it's just a great one to put in a pot above ground too. And at this house, I have some herbs in the ground, but I plant a lot of herbs in pots. I have a lot of containers. So, it just totally depends on where you're living and what your situation is. The other thing to kind of consider if you're doing containers is to do a container of just, like these are my herbs for salads. These are my herbs for tomato things, that kind of thing. You can put them all in a pot. And that's really pretty. Herbs are beautiful. They are aromatic. They have most of them flowers on them so that they're pretty, to look at. So, they're totally great just in a garden just for beauty's sake. So yeah, do consider them as that. Let's see, for storage, let's talk about harvesting and storage. So there's a lot of different things, and it depends on the herb of how they store the best. And I do have some documents that I'm happy to email to anyone who asks for them, for, the types of things that you would use herbs with cooking in, what herbs go with what kinds of things. And also that same document has on it storage, what's the best way to store them if you're harvesting and wanting to keep them. Some herbs really dry really well and are great dried. Other herbs are better if you freeze them in oil or freeze them in ice cubes and water. They work really well that way. Some herbs you just want to infuse oil with. So there's lots of different ways that you can do the storage thing. Some herbs, like my chives, I just chop those up at the end of the year and put them in a Ziploc bag in my freezer and use them. They're kind of like a dried chive at that point, after you've frozen them like that. But, they work great for different things. It's not like totally fresh, but it's better than what you buy in the grocery store. So that's what I do with my chives at the end of the year, but I have lots of chives. So that's kind of that. Just the rule of thumb for cooking with them, 1 teaspoon of dried herbs, if a recipe calls for dried herbs like oregano or something, is equal to a tablespoon of fresh. So if you're using fresh, you're going to use more. When you dry an herb, it kind of, what do I want to say? It makes the flavor more intense. It intensifies the flavor. So you use less of dried than you would of fresh. So that's kind of a little bit of background info for you as you are getting ready to plant and things like that. A lot of herbs, I should say too, as you're starting them if you're starting them in the spring, obviously you can go out to your garden center and buy already made plants. That's not the most cost-effective way to do it, but it is easy. And so you can obviously do that. But a lot of herbs are really simple to grow, either straight in the garden or if you want to start them inside ahead of time. And the way that I do that, if I'm starting an herb ahead of time, you can buy the little trays or whatever, but I just use little styrofoam cups. Those are so inexpensive. And put a little soil in each one. I spritz it with water. I plant the seeds, spritz it with water, cover it up with a piece of plastic wrap, and then I stick it on my front porch in front of a sunny window. And once they sprout, then you take that plastic wrap off. when you put the plastic wrap over the top, it just kind of acts like a greenhouse and keeps the moisture in and intensifies the sunshine and the heat. And it keeps all of that in there and makes them sprout easier and faster. So that's what I do. If I'm starting them inside, a lot of them you can sow right into your garden though. And sometimes I actually do the same thing if I'm putting them out in the garden and sowing my seeds. I'll spritz it out good with water, and then I'll put my plastic wrap over and put like rocks on the corner to keep it down. And that just ensures that, nothing is getting at the seeds, no birds are coming and taking your seeds and things like that. And again, works like a greenhouse. And then when they sprout, you just take that off and away you go. So I think that's most of my little tips here. So I hope that you are ready to go out and plant some herbs. If you're just buying them in the grocery store, let me tell you, some herbs, another thing just came to mind as I said buying them in the grocery store. If you're in the grocery store and you're in the produce section, they probably should not, some of them will not be in the refrigerated section. For instance, basil does not like to be refrigerated. If you refrigerate it after you picked it, it will turn black. So if you're seeing black spots on it, a lot of times that's why, because they put it in the cold section and it doesn't like to be cold. So that one just likes to be out on your counter, in a cool, dry place. Some herbs, like parsley, things like that, chives, parsley, those types of things, if you stand them up in a glass or a jar with a little tiny bit of water in the bottom, and then stick it in your fridge, then those work really well. Maybe put like a Ziploc bag or something over the top of it. Don't close it, but just over the top of it, and that will keep them really well in the fridge for a while. So those are a couple of things. But if you're buying them in the grocery store, usually you'll get them in the little plastic packages in your produce section. And so just kind of, you can Google and see, how a particular herb likes to be stored, and what the best way to store it is. So I think that's pretty much everything that I wanted to cover with you. If you have questions, please feel free to message me. Let me know what you want to know, and I'm happy to do that. On this virtual party, I have spotlights on different herbs and kind of what they're good with, and ways to use them, ways to store them, all of those kind of things are on my spotlights. So if there's a particular herb that you'd like to know about that I don't spotlight, let me know that as well. I'm happy to do that for you. So thanks, everybody. Now let's all go and cook something super yummy with some fresh herbs. Bye-bye.